Hello and welcome to this session. This is Professor Farhat, in which we would look at product financing arrangement. What are we talking about here when we say product financing arrangement? Think about your warehouse. Let's assume a company will have a lot of inventory in their warehouse. Tires, desks, tables, whatever. And their business is seasonal. So they produce that inventory, it's waiting in the warehouse, but it's not going to be selling until 2 to 3 months later. But today they need the money. They need the money to pay their employees, pay their bills, pay their operating expenses. So what can they do? Well, they cannot sell this product now, but they need the money. So what they will do, they can go to a, in quote, pawn shop. They can go to the bank, or they can go to a lender and say, look, we are going to hand over our inventory to you. So the analogy will be something like this. You have a watch and you need money. It's a valuable watch. You go to the pawn shop and you hand over your watch for cash and you sign paperwork telling the pawn shop you're going to come back and buy back this watch a month, 2 down the road, knowing you will return to buy it back for a bit more. So you did not really sell that watch, sell it. You borrowed against it. However, let's assume you got today $10,000. You go back and you buy it for $10,500. Notice you bought it back for an extra $500. The extra price of the loan is basically a form of financing fee. So what you did is you took your product in a personal level, your watch, and you got the money. Now, obviously, corporations don't take their asset to a pawn shop, but they will take it to a lender, someone who's willing to finance their product. So a product financing arrangement is the corporate version of pawning their inventory. So what we have to do is we have to look at the substance. So we have to be careful. It looks like a sale, like when you gave your watch to the pawn shop and they gave you cash, it looks like a sale, but it's really a loan. So what we have to do under those circumstances, apply substance over form to that inventory transfer. And this is the core idea, substance over form. This is what we will discuss in this session, including journal entries as well as examples. Let's go ahead and get started.
Want to see more CPA exam multiple choice questions solved step by step? At farhatlectures.com, you will get hundreds of video solved MCQs step by step, including previously released AI CPA questions, previously released AI CPA simulation, in-depth lectures and resources to prepare for the CPA exam, AI tools that's going to help you study smarter, not harder, CPA exam podcast lessons where you can learn on the go. And also you will get the personal guidance of support of Farhat and his team. If you are serious about passing the CPA exam, this is your next step. Visit the website farhatlectures.com, start your free trial, and I hope to see you on the website.
So a product financing arrangement looks like a sale, but it's really a loan secured by inventory. So the inventory never leaves your balance sheet. It might leave your warehouse. It might, some lenders want to have it for security. The company commits to buy the goods back anyway, so it never truly gives up control. And this is important. For a sale to be a sale, you have to give up control. The inventory stays on the balance sheet at the original cost, and the cash is borrowed. Now, when we receive cash, we are going to debit cash, but we cannot credit revenue. What we are going to credit, we're going to credit debt, a liability. And as a result, there's no sale, there's no gain on the transfer of that inventory, and that's very important. The extra money that we pay when we buy back the inventory, it could be interest, it could be a cost to the cost for the warehouse. If you had to transfer the goods to a warehouse for security, they might charge you a cost, but you have to know it's basically a cost of financing this transaction, a cost of money. So when is is it a product financing arrangement? Well, we have two structures. The first structure is sell now, repurchase later. The sponsor sells a product to another entity and in a related agreement commits to buy it back in the future. So they sell it and they say, I'm going to buy it back in the future. Or the second structure is have someone buy it for you. So the sponsor arranged for another entity to purchase a product on its behalf, often from a third-party supplier, and commit to buy that product from that other party later. So those are the two arrangements. Nevertheless, the telltale sign in both structure is a repurchase obligation or a related commitment to purchase. And this is the defining feature of a financing arrangement, not a true sale. So basically what you're doing is you're taking your product, your inventory, and arranging financing with it. That's basically what you are doing. So the price to buy it back is the cost plus charge. The buyback is set at the original cost plus a financing and sometimes carrying charges, not a fluctuating market price. The risk and reward stays with the sponsor, and this is important because the sponsor keeps the product. They have control over the product. You cannot resell it to anyone else. You're going to buy it back from them. They keep the risk and they keep the reward of holding the inventory. Therefore, it's not a sale. So first, let's take a look at structure one. Sell now, repurchase later. So what happened? You receive the cash, you debit the cash. Credit product financing obligation. Don't let word the product fools you. It's an obligation, it's a liability, not a sale. Then the inventory stays. The goods remain on the sponsor's balance sheet or at the original cost. And over the period, you would accrue interest expense, financing, and recognize holding cost, storage, and insurance. It's called carrying cost if you have to transfer that inventory and pay for it. At repurchase, well, you pay off the obligation, you debit the obligation, you write the check, you credit the cash. The obligation now grown to the buyback price, and the whole thing is settled. So the bottom line, there is no revenue, no cost of goods sold, no gain on the transfer. The company simply raised cash against goods it still owns. Real revenue waits until those goods are sold to a genuine customer, to a third party. Structure 2, purchase on your behalf. How does it work? Here, the company doesn't own the goods yet. It arranges for another party to go out and buy the goods on their behalf with the promise that you buy them and I will take those goods later on off your hands. Again, whatever you pay plus a financing and a storage cost. So simply put, the other party here is basically fronting the money to acquire the inventory. But first, who bought it? That third party. So in structure 1, the company owns the good first. They have the goods in their warehouse. And the second structure, what we're looking at here is the other party buys the goods first, some other company, hold them for you until the company takes them. So over the period, you accrue financing cost, which is interest, and holding cost, storage, and insurance as that cost is accruing. This is the second structure. And the settlement, the sponsor settled the liability with cash when it takes the goods from the other entity. So here what happened is this. Recognition is triggered when the other party buys the goods. When the other party buys the goods, you simply have a liability. Not later when the sponsor pay. That's the moment the sponsor effectively gains control and incur the liability, the obligation. Waiting until the repayment understate both assets and liabilities during the financing period. So you have a liability as soon as they buy the goods. You're going to pay them later, but you have that liability as soon as they buy it. Now let's talk about the access. The access could be financing versus holding cost. So the access to recognize is the repurchase price minus the original cost, minus if there's any processing fee to take out the processing fee. And what's left over, that's the access, it will be split into two buckets. A financing cost, which is the financing cost is the interest cost, the price of borrowing the money. Well, the other party gave the company cash and it's waiting to be paid back Well, it's basically interest. However you want to call it, it's interest. And you spread it over the time that the arrangement. So you remember, interest is spread over the period, like borrowing interest. The other cost, it could be holding cost, like storage, insurance. Because while the goods sit in someone else's warehouse, there's a real cost to keep them safe. You're basically renting the space. You pay insurance, you pay handling cost. The company picks up those costs too and record them as they happen as well. Now remember what we did. We excluded the processing cost, because if the other party actually work on the goods that you handed to them, whatever they did with them, they did some cutting, packaging, further manufacturing, that processing cost is a genuine product cost, inventory cost that increase the value. It's not a financing or a holding charge and must be stripped before measuring the excess, and that's why we deduct it. Therefore, the excess will be split between financing and holding cost. Well, the best way to illustrate this concept is to look at an example. We're going to look at Cedar Ridge Tire Manufacturing. They build large batch of specialty off-road tires ahead of the peak season, but lacks warehouse space and cash because their business is seasonal. They need to get it ahead of time, but they don't have the space to store it and they don't have the cash. On April 1st, it transferred tires carried at $800,000 to Harbor Logistics and received $800,000 in cash. But they told Harbor, look, we're going to go back and repurchase all the tires from you on October 1st, 6 months later, for $836,000. So they received cash right now, $800,000. That's a liability. They're going to have to pay an extra $36,000. That's the total access. The interest component is $30,000 and the storage insurance is $6,000. So the interest component is over 6 months, it's going to be $5,000 per month, and the holding cost is $6,000, which is $1,000 per month. Why? Because in the problem they will tell you Harbor Logistics charges $1,000 per month for storage. Well, 6 months, which is $6,000 of the $36,000, $6,000 goes to the storage. What's left is financing. You can spread the financing over the period. So here's the journal entries that we need to process on April 1st at transfer. We debit cash, credit some sort of a liability called product finance obligation. Okay, so remember the tire stays in inventory, no revenue, no cost of goods sold, none like that. On a monthly basis from April to September, what we do is we debit interest expense, credit storage, insurance expense, and we credit the obligation, an additional $6,000 added to this. October 1st, and again, this repeats six times. On October 1st, what's going to happen is we're going to cut the check for $836,000. By the time we get there, remember this obligation, it started at $800,000. Then over 6 months, we added $6,000 every month. By the time we get to there, it's going to be $836,000. We remove the obligation. The tires were on the books all along. There's nothing to worry about. Now, all in all, Cedar Ridge raised $800,000 of short-term financing and paid $36,000 for it. None of this touched revenue. None of this touched the inventory yet. So this is basically the journal entries that you need to be familiar with, comfortable with. Now, this is true sale versus product financing. In a genuine sale, there's no repurchase obligation, because if you sold something, you cannot tell them on the side, I will buy it back. Product financing arrangement, yes, you do have that feature. The risk and reward of ownership in a genuine sale is transferred to the buyer. In a product financing, it's retained by the sponsor. Inventory removed from the books if it's a genuine sale, yes. If it's not, you keep it. You don't remove the inventory. Revenue recognized on transfer, yes. If it is a sale, revenue. If it's financing, no revenue. Cash received is treated as, if it's a genuine sale, revenue. If it's not, some sort of a liability borrowing. Excess repaid later, you're not buying it back. You might have to pay interest plus a holding cost. Just be aware of these common exam traps. There is no gain or sale, liability at buyback price, immediately recognized, including processing costs. Processing costs is a product cost, not a finance charge. Make sure you remove it. You don't remove the inventory. Treating all access as interest, that's not right. You might have storage and insurance. Look for that. Confusing it with consignment. Consignment keeps the goods on the books too, but no borrowing or repurchase. So don't confuse this with consignment. Let's take a look at this multiple choice question from farhatlectures.com. On June 1st, Burkwood Furniture transferred inventory at $300,000 to Atlas Holding and receive $300,000 cash. We need to know more. In a related agreement, Burkwood commit to repurchase the identical inventory 9 months later for $327,000. How should the company record the transaction on June 1st? So what is that technically? Well, what did we do? We received immediately $300,000 on June 1st. We debit cash. So notice all the, debit cash 300, debit cash 300, debit cash 327 is out, debit cash 300 is good. Now, what exactly happened here? Did we sell the inventory? And the answer is no. Why not? Because we have an agreement to buy it back. If we have an agreement to buy it back, what are we actually doing? All what we're doing is we are financing using the inventory to obtain some financing. We're entering into a financing transaction. Basically, it's a form of borrowing because we have to buy it back and buy it back at $327,000. So what entry do we make on June 1st? On June 1st, we debit cash and we have an obligation of $300,000. Now, when we pay it back, we have to pay $327,000. Between June 1st and 9 months later, we have to accrue any interest, any storage cost until the liability becomes $327,000 and we pay it off. No revenue, no cost of goods sold, no gain. What are we looking at here? We are looking at what we called a product financing arrangement. We are using our inventory to raise short-term funding to pay for payroll, operating expenses, to survive for the next 12 months. Then we can sell the inventory. What should you do now? Well, whether you are a CPA exam candidate, CMA exam candidate, accounting student, go to Farhat Lectures. If you're taking this quiz online, you can ask the AI to explain the topic, explain the correct and incorrect answer if you were confused, and create a similar MCQ to help you practice more. The best investment you can make is invest in yourself, invest in your career, and God bless.